name is Kaushaliya Vaghela, and I'm the first Indian MP in Victoria State, and I'm the first Indian-born Hindu MP in entire Australia. And I come from India, and I come from not a metro city, because usually people from metro cities, they have got a lot of resources and they are aware of what sort of options are available politically, and they have those sort of connections. But I come from a small town called Jamnagar in Gujarat in India. I came to Australia in 1998 as an international student. I was married, I was a mom, and I don't come from a very rich background. And when we came here in 1998, we had no families over here in terms of that I knew of, any relatives or any friends that we knew who would help us. So yeah, it was just, yeah, we had packed up our bags and said, let's go to Australia. And we started from scratch in 1998. I had already studied a Master's of Science by coursework in India, and I had come here to study Masters of Applied Science by research from a university known as RMIT University in Melbourne. And my plan was to do a research, 2 years research, and then we did not even know after that what would happen. So doing research, it was difficult because research requires you to be in the lab all 5 days from morning until evening. That doesn't leave you much time with anything else that you would want to do. So what I was doing is I was working over weekend in a restaurant as a waitress, and my husband drove taxi so that we both can support financially over here. Life was very, very difficult. And we knew that we did not have, the resource back home that we could ask for money. So we knew that we just had to make sure that whatever we do, we have to be self-reliant. And when you don't have anyone over here and you are homesick, the culture is new, the country is new, everything is new. It is hard, and it is also hard when a migrant woman comes over here, and it's even more difficult when you are a mom. So I guess my story is not that much different in terms of all the migrants who come here. Doesn't matter whether they come from India or any other country they come from. The stories are the same. The initial stories of all the migrants who come here. So I don't particularly think that my story is any different than any migrant person who comes to Australia and tries to establish. They come here. If they come as a student, they study, and then we all look for, a job, a house, a car, all those sort of things that, it takes a lot of time from you, quite a few years before you are able to achieve those things. And that's exactly the same thing what happened with me as well. After I finished my studies, then me and my husband decided to stay here permanently in Australia. We applied for our permanent residency, and then we became citizens of Australia as well. And because I was from a science background, I thought that I will get a job easily in Australia in my own area of interest, or the area that I have studied in. But I failed miserably in getting a job in my area in which I studied. So it was hard because whenever I applied, I was overqualified for most of the jobs. I did not have any local experience. But slowly, like all the migrants, eventually they do find jobs and do settle down. I did find a job, and I was working in a hospital. So by qualification and by my work career, I am a scientist. So any women out there, if they think that I might come from a big political background, that is not the case. And no one from my family has ever contested any election back home. Prior to me becoming an MP, I had not contested any election other than the one that I contested in 2018 and won. So what happens is that, yes, so I finally got a job in my my area of what I had studied. We bought a house. My husband started a business, and then I had really bad health issues, and then we suffered a lot because we had just bought the house, and because of my ill health, I had to give up my job. And then my husband had started the business, but over there what happened is it was in a precinct where predominantly all the businesses were Indians or South Asians, and they were all trading over there for a very long time. And unfortunately what happened is that the government compulsorily acquired the land over there, and all the traders who were there, including my husband who was trading at the time over there, they faced many financial losses over there. And I felt very sad that all these traders who have been here, this is their superannuation, this is where they're taken risk and started doing businesses, and now they are just almost being asked to pack up and go, which I felt was not right. It was not fair, and it actually really upset me and saddened me. And what I did realize is that just being sad and upset and sitting at home, it's not going to solve this problem. So slowly I started working with the traders, and I did the advocacy for all the 35 traders who were there for many years. And then my problem is that once I take something in my hand, I just don't let it go. I want to make sure that I solve that problem. And this traders issue wasn't something simple, because it was against the government. So to get some outcome in favor of traders was not as easy what I would have expected in a developed country. I thought that might be the case in probably the other countries in the world. I was very surprised the way the traders were treated here. And the more I dealt, on behalf of traders and advocated them, the more passionate I became. And I felt like the traders were, treated in a. I'm not sure why, if they were treated that way because they were Indians, I don't know. But I did feel that whatever was happening to the traders was not right, and something had to be done. And while doing this advocacy, it took a lot of toll on me and my husband as well, because it took a lot of time, effort, energy, and the business was shut because the construction was going on over there. So we suffered massively. Of course, other traders also suffered financially massively as well. But we were newly arrived migrants, so we did not have that much buffer of the financial support. While doing this advocacy for few years, I came to know many community people from South Asian background. And then from there, I came to know many member of parliaments. And that's how I came to know about Labour Party. That's how I came to know about many ministers. That's how I met our Premier Daniel Andrews. At that time, he was a new leader, opposition leader at the time, because they had just lost the election. So they were new, we were new. I did not know anything about politics, who the minister was and how to approach, nothing at all. So for years, advocating for the traders and meeting with MPs and working closely with many MPs and ministers, I sort of understood a little bit how politics work. So coming from a science background and not knowing anything about politics, my advocacy work actually led me to the path of politics, where I get to know of MPs and how politics work. But my experience says that just by knowing MPs and ministers and working with the opposition leader, or working with, at that time, I worked very closely with Daniel Andrews as well. You still don't understand how the politics works until you are in those offices. And eventually I did get a chance to work with the then multicultural affairs minister. I worked as his advisor part-time, and that gave me insight into how politics actually work, and that actually gave me insight into how difficult the politics is.
Yeah. So you worked. Did you volunteer or did you work there?
No, it was a paid job. So I was working somewhere else in a private company as a risk and compliance manager from Monday to Thursday, doing 5 days hours in 4 days, and then on Friday every week I was getting paid to work in multicultural affairs minister's office. So it was not a volunteer work.
Right, fantastic. That's fabulous. And so how long did you do that work for?
So I started that in 2016.
Yeah.
And even when I did the entire advocacy, and I worked from 2016 until I got pre-selected, I mean, I had never thought that I will run as an MP or I'll become an MP. So I worked for 2.5 years. So I resigned because then I contested the election. So that was the reason I resigned from that position.
Okay. And so in terms of pre-selection, how long had you been a member of the Labor Party?
I became a member of Labour Party in 2014. Yeah, so and the pre-selection was in 2018.
Right. And how did that pre-selection work? Did you have to ask somebody to pre-select you for a particular electorate, or were you approached, or was it, you know, a sort of
yeah,
different type of process?
Yeah. So the party was looking for a woman from Indian background for the seat where I am the MP.
Yes.
And I did not live in that area. So since 1998, I've come to Australia. The western suburb was the only suburb I had never lived. I had done the whole turn from north, east, southeast, and west was the only region that was waiting for me. I had never lived there. So when party approached, my answer was actually, when the offer came, I said, I don't want to contest the election. And I gave quite a few reasons as why I don't want to contest the election.
Yeah.
And some people say that was a bit crazy for me to do, but because all the difficulties that I mentioned, Kat, after our business and my health, I had just got a good job. I didn't want to give up a job and then start again for the 4th time after losing the election. So I said, no, finally I've got a good job, which I've been working since last 6 years, and the company is good. I like the job, and I don't want to risk losing that job, number one. Number two, the election requires a lot of money to run the campaigns, and I'm not that rich, so I don't have that much money either. And number three also, that I did not have much time, because by the time I was pre-selected, it was October. So it went for, I think, 1.5 months or so. So I wasn't even quite sure how to run the campaign. Is it going to be enough time for me? And I didn't want to take time off. And then I was worried that if I take time off, because quite a few MPs, what they do is 6 months off or 1 year off once they are, pre-selected, they do the campaign. But unfortunately, I did not have that luxury. So I was a bit reluctant. But the response that I got is, they're looking for someone from Indian community. It has to be a woman, but someone who is extremely community minded. And they said, we have looked around everywhere and it's only your name coming up.
Wow. And you had 6 weeks to run your campaign.
No, so what happens is, so October, I was pre-selected.
Right.
So before that, I think it was 6 weeks or 8 weeks, because there were other two candidates as well.
Mhm.
Um, and because I have been on the ground along with the community for many, many years, in my pre-selection, I got, I think, 86% votes. So, and that was my first time. I didn't even know how pre-selection is meant to be, what you do, but it's just that, yeah, people knew me on the ground, but I did not have much time. I think it was probably in July or somewhere where I said, okay, I'll nominate myself. And then in October, I got pre-selected. So if you go on my Facebook page, I'll have to remember the day when I set up my Facebook page is the day when I got pre-selected. Before that, I never had created any page, or I didn't say I'm a community leader or I'm this big. No, I like to work on the ground with community, doing real work.
Yeah, yeah. And so July, you were nominated. October, you were pre-selected. And when was the election?
In November, 24th November was the election in 2018. And that's when the election was, but the upper house result takes some time before they're finalized. So 10th of December is when I knew my result that I have won. So all those days, yes, that unfortunately it takes time for the upper house results because of all the preferencing and everything, which was very daunting. I didn't even know what all those things were. Not that I still fully understand, but yeah, it's upper house preferencing and all those things. It's very complex. I'm not a career politician. It just happens to be that I'm a community person who contested the election and became an MP.
That is fabulous to know, because there are a lot of women in this workshop that are very strong community-focused women. And it's good to hear that you don't have to be a career politician. You don't have to understand how voting works or how the whole pre-selection process works. You just need to get in there and work with your community. And I often say this to women of color, it's your community that votes you in there. At the end of the day, it's your community that will put you there. So the real work has to be done in the community. So yeah, that's a really fantastic story. And so when you did get elected, so it was like 10 days, 24, so about 16 days of waiting, nail-biting waiting to find out whether you won or not.
Yeah, so what I had done is to my employer, the CEO or the actual company that I was working for, because I had taken 2 weeks off to contest the election, I had planned all the work that I was supposed to do in those 2 weeks. After, so from Monday onwards, after the election, I said, as soon as the election finishes, I'll come back on Monday, and then I'll do all this work. And so the company that I was working for, it's a big company. They have about 600 staff, and they were following me. And when they found out that I could win, they said, "Oh, now she's not coming back." But no, I did go back to work on Monday, and I said, "Look, I don't know what is going to happen, whether I'll win or not. At this stage, it does look like I might win. But while I'm waiting for the result, whoever the person you think who can replace me, you give me a person and I will train a person," because I didn't want to leave the company that way, because the company had been very good to me, and they thought I'll just send an email saying that's okay, I'm not coming on Monday. I said that's the last thing I would do, just letting the company know. So I finished everything that I was supposed to do in 2 weeks, did proper handover, and by that time the results had already come out. So after that, then I resigned. And I was supposed to give actually 4 weeks notice. And I said, well, the results are not in my hand and I can't give 4 weeks notice. You can cut my pay. They didn't cut my pay. They said, no, you have worked as a very honest worker with us. We will take your 2 weeks notice. That's fine.
That's awesome. Wow, what a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that, Kaushaliya. That is really, really uplifting to hear.
And, you know, I've really been wanting to talk to you. So this is a great forum to have met you on. You know how you said, you didn't know anything about the inner workings of politics, right? And you just sort of got thrust into this whole thing. What are you gonna, like, I hear a lot of women being afraid. They're like, oh, I don't know enough, right? And they're like, oh, I feel like I need to learn everything, understand everything completely before I get into politics. And I really don't think it's necessary, because I've met some people who are in politics. They really don't know the inner workings themselves. But at the end of the day, they're out there, they're creating impact. Like, what will you say to these women? Because clearly you've had experience.
Yeah, see, what I did is, one thing I just want to emphasize over here is that anything that I did, even when I was doing the advocacy, or after that I became heavily involved with the Indian and in broad the South Asian community, excuse me, I never did anything just because I wanted to be an MP. I just did things because I enjoyed those things. So it never occurred to me that, oh, now I want to become an MP, so this is the checklist and I need to do this and this and this and this. None of those things. In fact, I'm just looking at the list. People think that those are the things they need to do. I did not do any of those things. As far as the the political intricacies go, I still don't understand many things. Tarini, I do agree with you that at times we women are hesitant um, to probably raise our hands, and the reason probably what we think is that we want to know everything before we raise our hand, which happens a lot. For me, I didn't want to raise my hand because I had so many setbacks in my life, health-wise and business-wise. When over there, after I got married, we had started from scratch. Then we came here, we started from scratch. Then I got sick. So, I mean, how many times you do it? And it's just that I was at that stage of life where I was just starting as if I had just newly arrived to this country. And that's why, and I wasn't that, I'm not that young either. So how many times you start? And that was the whole point, that I didn't have time to learn all those intricacies of party. But I think it is important to learn, because what I do feel is that we, and when I say we means I'm talking about myself as well and other migrants, what we tend to do is, because we spend a majority of our lives over there, we have a tendency to bring certain aspects of politics from there to here, and we can't sort of differentiate whether that's applied, should be applied over here or not. And we actually don't understand, and then we keep doing politics, learning from each other Indians, but they might not know. So if you want to learn, then you have to go with people who have been there. So go with people who are Labour Party members, who understands what the party is, what those things are, understand, because that way you won't waste time and go around in circles. Because I personally feel that the only reason I have become successful in becoming an MP, because prior to me, there were many other advisors who were in the position where I am. They were advisors in premier's offices. They were advisors who were working full time. I was just working in a multicultural office for a day. But the thing is, I say to them that if you drive a car over here, don't follow the rules of India. And if you drive a car in India, don't follow the rules of Australia, because it's not going to work. And it's exactly the same thing with politics. Politics is very different here. And because we don't give up the whole mindset or whatever we have learned over there, we bring it here, and that doesn't allow us to become successful.
And it's interesting that he talked about it. Kat, let me know if I'm going over time, because I have a lot of questions. It's interesting that he brought up about it, because when I first came here as an international student all those many years ago, I've always been interested in politics. And I thought, oh, if I joined a political party, I'll figure it out, because now I'm a member and I'll somehow pick it up. But guess what? Because don't judge me, because as an international student, I was trying to figure it out. I joined one party, nobody, I became a member, and then you sort of pay, and then like nobody was there to teach or answer questions. So I didn't learn anything. And then I joined another political party, because I was like, oh, okay, maybe if I join them, they're gonna, I'm gonna be learning something. They had all these events and meetings and etc. Nothing. I didn't learn anything. The most amount of learning I've ever done was actually, well, yeah, reading online resources. And back then we didn't have the sort of Zoom communication or Facebook groups. Google Maps wasn't really a thing even when I arrived here. So you didn't have a lot of these resources. I mean, I can't comment on whether it's still, it's my experience is what a lot of other people have experienced. But I have spoken to a lot of others and they have said the same thing. They joined political parties with the thinking that, oh, as a member, I'll be taught, but that doesn't really happen. What have you got to say about that?
Yeah, look, if I'll use one analogy over here. So if you say that you become a member and as a result, you will learn politics of whichever party you have joined, it's like saying, I'm born now on this planet and now I know what to do. You are just born, now it's your life. You have to decide what you want to make of your life. So just by joining any party, that's just the beginning. That's where it starts. But what I would say is that the other thing I've noted is politics over here. It doesn't work part-time. You have to put a lot of long hours. So if and that is my experience. Now it might be different for people probably who are born here or who have started their career early in politics. But for me, if I combine the time that I have put, so me and my husband on the ground, it's 28 years now combined, every single night out and about, not returning home until midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So I think at times also, because I have people approaching me, oh, I gave out, how to vote cards for 2 hours and now I want to become an MP. Yes, you can become an MP, but not just by giving how to vote cards for 2 hours. So you really, really have to work hard. Politics doesn't work going there for half an hour. And you have to be persistent. You have to be patient, and you have to be a professional.
Kaushaliya, I just want to say my sincere sympathies to you and your family for what you've been through. This is probably beyond anything people here really understand.
Yeah.
And so I'm so sorry that you've had to bear with this, and your family as well. I can't imagine what it's been like. And all I also want to say is thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. And it comes back to what Nadia and I have been talking about. You just have a passion for your community and you do what they want. And that's what you're doing. And I would vote for both of you any day. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaushaliya. That was wonderful.
Second that, please.
Sorry, yes, Nadia?
I just would like to second what Marcel and you have said. I just want to thank her very much for sharing, and I'm sorry what she's going through as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Nadia. And like I said, this is what life is. You deal with one thing and another is ready. You deal with another and then one after that. I think that's what I've learned, that it's just making me stronger. The only thing is when family members pass away, you can't do anything about it, and that's the worst part of the tragedy that we are currently facing. But thank you very much for your concern, Nadia and Marcel. I really appreciate that. Thanks, Kat. I really admire your work, and I think the platform that you are giving to many women from Khol background, from indigenous background, I think it is very important, because the message that I do want to give is that if I can become an MP, you all can become an MP. But it is just don't go with expectation in a short term that you can become in a year or 2 years time. It's a long wait. That's what my experience has been. Now somebody might come due to whatever experience they have or influence they have, come get the ticket, become an MP. And for me, I'm an MP. I'm qualified now. Even if I'm not MP at next election, that's okay, because I did not come to this country to become an MP. I've got qualification now, and I'm sure I won't have to struggle as much for a job like I did in the initial years.
Yeah. You're a wonderful inspiration to us all, and we're really, really thankful and grateful to you for sharing your story and for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you everyone, and good luck to all the women who are out there. Keep
Yes.
going, and if
Keep
you need any help, please approach me. No problem at all. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.